Hello, Joes and agents of Cobra Command. My name is Steve. You're listening to GI Joburg. And this episode is entitled Claw Hands, Bats, and Homecomings. Are you scratching your head? All will be revealed in due course. But as always, I'm joined by a friend. It's Paul Opsher, aka
Berg.
Hey, buddy.
Hey guys, how's everybody? It's cool to see everybody
Well,
in the comments. And how's it, Steve?
exactly. Feel free to sound off in the chats, though. People have been keeping it pretty lively up to this point already.
Yeah.
So let's run through our inner circle, our core group, our people who've taken their time out on their Sunday or Monday to hang out with us live in the show. It's the Booyah J, it's Spoon Killer, Brick Fiction, Darren Cobb, James Schultz, Joseph Aschenbremer. Hey, buddy. That is an unfamiliar name. So if you have been in the chats before, I must have missed you. But welcome if this is your first time.
Skinner
fan, Moonlight 47, Cobra Viper 11. We have a Facebook user. Perhaps it's Robert Kalupitan. Let me know because obviously Streamyard doesn't want to let me know your identity. And yes. And Will R. Hey, okay. Wow, it's lively already, as I say. So yeah, give us a little update, guys. How's your weekend been? We're on the downslope of 2023. Insane. If you are in North America, you're looking forward to Thanksgivings. However, if you're in pretty much every other part of the world, well, yes. No, isn't that February? What do I know? But if you're in every other part of the world, brother, deck the halls with boughs of holly because fa la 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 la. Are you seeing shopping centers overrun with Christmas decorations?
Not yet, dude. Not on my side, anyway.
Really?
I thought they would. I thought I would have seen it already because they start putting those things up around the same time, like literally just after Halloween.
Yeah,
But I haven't seen anything
we
like
can't
that.
go to the shops without Elliot pointing out, "It's Christmas, Daddy! It's Christmas!" Yeah,
Oh,
so
cute,
the
man.
the decorations are in full effect. The reason I mention that is because we have a Christmas special lined up to talk about on this episode. We're finally going to get around to talking about Renegades Homecoming two-parter.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a Christmas. You and I spoke offline. Is it a Thanksgiving thing? Is it a Christmas thing? I said Christmas because very heavy snow. And also at one point, Roadblock impersonates Santa. Remember that
Oh,
bit?
yes, that's right. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
that's true.
Yeah, it's a Christmas party. So yeah, we're kind of a little early, I guess. But I'm going to take it as us being right on time. If you're in a non-Thanksgiving part of the world. Because, I mean, I was able to observe it once. I spent one Christmas season in the States. And yeah, as soon as Thanksgiving and Black Friday and what is it, Cyber Monday wrap up, that's when trees get lit in town centers. And yeah, it gets crazy.
It's real.
Yeah. Paul,
Yeah.
how are you doing, my friend?
Dude, I'm rocking, man. Aside from a little bit of a flu thing that happened last weekend, everything else has been golden. Finally got to do my actual birthday dinner last night with Celia. Because of said illness, and then I didn't want to go on the weekend of the rugby finals because that would have just been just madness. I don't know, it just didn't feel like the right thing. But anyway, we went to this really, really cool restaurant, Japanese place. And yeah, it was great. Really, really great to get some ramen bowl. Like have this amazing can't believe I can't believe I've forgotten the name of it, and it's so good. Anyway, it was amazing. It was a really, really great evening. And yeah, I was treated, and that was cool. Yeah, and otherwise things have just been rad, man. Like it's been quite a busy 2 weeks in terms of like stuff. Just new kids coming in for Gunpla SA.
Oh, I thought you were about to
One
say
or
the
two.
Kung Fu school.
Oh, the Kung Fu school, yeah, we're going strong, but I haven't been able to train for a week because I've been sick. And then also there's just some new toys that have arrived that I'm excited about talking about at some point in this episode. I can bring them up.
Well,
And yeah.
you know what? Should we flip things around and talk new toys up front? Because
Yeah, why not?
this is going to be a media-heavy episode. We're going to talk about issue 10 of the comic book, Nice Little Town Like Ours, the introduction of Springfield. That's a pretty major bit of plot and lasting kind of impact on the entire GI Joe series. So that's going to occupy a lot of this chat. We're also going to talk about, as aforementioned, the Homecoming Renegades cartoon at long last. We've been putting it off for like 3 shows in a row now, something ridiculous, but it's time. And we are also going to talk about An Untold Tale, issue 280 of the IDW series, which has a bearing on the kind of the 30s of the Marvel run. So we'll be jumping in terms of continuity and stuff. Very interesting. But as I say, let's talk new shit because I want to hook people with the toy. Let's talk.
Okay, guys, I'm just putting my camera here because it's kind of bugging me that I'm like at the bottom of the screen. At least this way, like my leg looks like I have a giant boner. Let me move that.
Feeling a little uncomfortable now.
Cool. Let me start, seeing as I kind of like broached it.
No. Your segue was too perfect. I got a heat gun. Now this does look like a sex toy of some description. And do you have a heat gun, Paul?
No, I don't have a heat gun. I feel like I need a heat gun. I use a hairdryer for all of the things that you'd use a heat gun for.
Hairdryer is not adequate to the task, and the task was erasing stress marks on plastic. So anytime you have plastic that's been manipulated in ways that it shouldn't be, you're going to get sort of white stress marks. That's a prelude to cracking. Okay, just shy of cracking, you've got the white stress marks.
White stress marks before crack. Okay, I got you. Just asking for a friend.
Mansplaining for the toy guy here. You can erase those stress marks on certain kinds of plastic.
You sound like an infomercial.
You can erase
those stress marks.
Well, brother, you've got to make sure that it's not too close because you will melt the plastic, and you got to make sure that it's not too constant. So you're constantly making circles and then turning it. But if you are careful, you can make those stress marks go away to a varying degree of success. I had a stress mark on my Leader 1 jet, GoBot jet, Eagle Robo. Yeah. It was on a point that obviously was kind of mistransformed for many, many years, where these arms pull out. If you pull it from the top, you're going to stress the arm. You got to kind of get at them from the bottom, where the fist is.
Right.
It erased the stress mark immediately. And I found a YouTube short where, ironically, they used Leader 1 in exactly the same spot and erased the same stress mark. So clearly it's a good candidate for it. The plastic is quite high quality. You know, in spite of GoBots being derided as like poor man's Transformers, the materials used in these toys are excellent. And something that we sorely lack, you know, in today's gummy toy era that we're currently stuck in. Anyway, it doesn't work on everything. I tried to erase a stress mark on Destro's anti-gravity pod. Didn't work. So not all plastics are suitable, sadly.
Hey, what's up, Daniel? Oh, man.
Handsome Head Injury asks, was it for the Terradrome? My Terradrome has some stress marks, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to use this. Something about the Terradrome is very creaky and very fragile, and because I'm not a restorations guy and I don't want this Terradrome to like look factory fresh, it's fine. It's play worn. It's fine. Michael French did an incredible series. I think he might be in the midst of releasing them on Retroblasting. I watched the first 2 parts, so if he has released the other 2, forgive me. I mean, if you listen to this in the future, he's completed his Terradrome restoration. However many parts there might be. Sorry, I assumed there were going to be 4. But yeah, he's doing almost like a factory reset on his Terradrome. This is nowhere near mine, at least. I'm pointing off camera and saying this, but my Terradrome is nowhere near kind of being a candidate for that level of restoration. It's seen some use for sure. Putting it mildly, nothing too broken or busted, but yeah, I'm not about to peel off stickers and whiten faded plastic. So yeah, the Terradrome I'm going to leave alone. But yeah, just trying the heat gun on various GI Joe accessories and vehicle parts didn't really get the desired effect, sadly. So I'm going to refrain.
I see Spoon Killer's asking if your GoBots were made in Hong Kong or Japan.
Very good question. I'll check the stamp. Japan for Leader 1.
Wow,
Pathfinder.
that's cool.
I wonder where she has her stamp. Sorry, this isn't great radio, so Paul, please chew the airways for a bit. What did you get, my friend?
I got well, let me actually pull out some pictures as well. So it's nothing too crazy. I'm sure you guys have been checking out our YouTube shorts. I got this HEYO toy Snake Eyes, which I'm bringing up into the shot again. And I've been having quite a lot of fun with this guy, and just really like sort of getting into the nitty gritty and sort of discovering this figure and sort of going, well, not sort of, but very much mulling it over in my head as to like who this toy is for, and who, you know, because that's what I'm having trouble with. So who is this toy for? I mean, for us, GI Joburg, we have a channel. It's something interesting for us to speak about. It's a curiosity, if you will. But it has some things, and now I'm like thinking maybe I should do like a proper conversation about this toy in the future. Although I did get a chance to slap it on my Raptor. So like, you know, that's the thing about toys that are so beautiful, right? And just, you know, life, you always have like shit and whatever to deal with in life, and you know, if you can just slap a ninja on a velociraptor, then you know that, you know, it's not that bad, you know, like things are okay.
I have
and
questions.
Then yes, you have questions.
Articulation. Is it
Yes.
would you say it's superior articulation to what we're used to from 4-inch modern?
Oh no, definitely not. No.
Not. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So like it's interesting. The articulation, I find the articulation on it is designed to maintain an aesthetic, whereas the articulation on a modern era figure is designed to keep a playability. Yeah. So where the modern era maybe fails on an aesthetic front, and in my opinion, it doesn't often fail. It's just sometimes they do look a bit spindly or they do look a bit odd, but they still get much better poses. And I would even wager or argue that some of them even get better poses than some of the classified figures. But the HEYO toys is definitely meant to look good. It's meant to like everything about its lines and the way that it's put together. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of looking at it off camera, but yeah, everything about its lines, it's like designed to kind of look good. So I just want to get a nice angle there. You know what I mean? Like you can see like the proportions and stuff sort of stick together. It doesn't have any weirdness. The neck is actually connected to the head, and then that's on a ball joint to give it swivel.
So it has articulation at the top and the bottom of the neck.
Well,
right.
No, it has no articulation on the top. It just looks like it does, but you can see it's like molded in there.
Oh, and right. So the neck is molded to the head. Right.
Yeah. So they're combined.
Well, that's like an O-ring figure. Actually, it's a throwback.
Yeah. And the guns, for example, look good when you see them here, but they got very fat grips so that it can hold onto it properly. So yeah, it's a lot of aesthetic choices, but yeah, you can't bend, like to give you an example, you can't bend the leg further than that. You can't get like a knee bend that's further than that. It's just
but it is a double jointed knee, right?
It is a double jointed knee, and the arms give you sort of that.
Okay, so just past 90 degrees on the arms and just past 90 degrees on the knees. Are you sure you couldn't rejig the knee articulation point and bend,
well, it's
bend the lower bend the lower first and then the upper?
I did try something like that before, and it's got to stop. It's actually got to stop in the double joint. It's got to lock.
Okay,
so
we've got some requests from the chat. You need to honor them. Firstly,
okay, let's check. Yes,
put it next to Storm Shadow.
Okay, hold on. I've got a.
We want to see the height difference. Well, Spoon Killer specifically asks for Storm Shadow V2. I assume that's 1988. But
okay, now 1988 one's actually in my jacket pocket.
wow.
But this is the height difference on versus the modern era. And then I've got a Snake Eyes.
Let's make you big.
Close to. I just want to pull him off the display quickly. Okay, let me make his legs straight quickly. And I'm dropping his machine gun. So I'm going to take this, and I know I did this on the shorts, but I'm happy to show you guys again. So they look same in the camera, but they're not. The modern era is actually shorter. When they're standing on solid ground, the modern era is actually shorter, but visually close enough to be fine, But you can tell because of the shoulders. The shoulder height is different on them. Hold on, error of parallax there. There we go. So
we'll take your word for it, Paul. We don't see a ruler anywhere to hand.
I mean, the bummer here is that you can't put this guy in a vehicle. You can't put him in most vehicles. But would you want to? I don't know. Removable hands are pretty cool. I like that. I dig that. I like that the hands are removable. I know some people might have issue with that, but this is meant to be a premium figure, so it's meant to be kind of posed for toy photography and things like that. So having interchangeable hands, to me, makes a lot of sense. So you got an open hand, you got a fist, but then with that comes the irritation of he doesn't have two gripping hands, so you can't have the sword in his left hand, for example, and the Uzi in his right. It's either or. But they have got a ball joint for the wrist, so it's weird. Like what you gain something, but you lose something. That's what this whole HEYO toy is. It's sacrificing certain things to gain other things, and what you gain is nice to have over the modern era, and what you lose kind of makes it pale in comparison to some of the modern era. A big issue I have with this figure is it's hard to see on camera here, and I hope this doesn't bug anybody who's like maybe ordered one. But he's got kind of a big butt. He looks like he's wearing a bit of a nappy. And that, it's, when you got it in the hand and you're playing around, it's not something that you normally notice. But if somebody like me, like on a show or a review or something points it out, it's going to bug you. And I hate that nappy crotch because it also stops the leg. The legs aren't designed to go further than that. That's another
This is what I was going to ask. What is prohibiting it from operating in vehicles? And that's probably the waist articulation.
And then also plastic joints in the crotch as well. That freaks me out.
Oof, scary. Yeah. But the bad news, unfortunately, is, I mean, you mentioned you don't want to anger anyone who's got them currently on order. That's probably a very small pool because HLJ don't have any stock. It seems like these were a very low production run.
Yeah.
Like that you can't buy them currently. The Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. I mean, the stuff that's coming down the pipe. Hopefully you can. Yeah. I mean, the HEYO must have underestimated the demand. It's like you're going to make a Western brand and you're not going to expect the West to demand them in great quantity. Come on, guys.
Well, I think they were also worried because of how many people complained about this design of Snake Eyes as well. I mean, they are privy to that knowledge, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure that they've, gone onto the internet.
Do the limbs come apart easily? Moonlight asks.
I haven't actually tried to separate them from the torso or from the main body, but the wrists do come out very easily, and it's a little irritating. I'm not going to lie. But then again, it's also kind of a give and take thing because sometimes you have figures where the wrist bites the ball joint too hard, and you can sometimes break the ball joint and leave them in there. I know that there are toys and people have had that issue. Thank God that hasn't happened to me with anything, but that can happen. And so like that's kind of a win because at least you're not going to break it. But it is irritating when you're like trying to take photos of it or pose it on a diorama or a set or something, and then the weapon like just falls out because you bumped it a little bit, and you're like, and the weapon goes with the hand. It's like kind of annoying.
Action figure. Yeah, look, to be honest, I'm too basic for removable limbs and parts. Anything beyond a battle android trooper, forget about it. I want my stuff to stay fixed.
And to be fair, it is technically a premium collectible figure. I mean, it's not really an action figure. Yeah, I mean, it's for adult play, but not that kind of, not like your heat gun.
Exquisite mini. Well, yeah, speaking about toys that were meant for play, and just to circle back to the question, Pathfinder was made in Macau. So
yes, I was going to say, I'm sure.
Just next door. And so was Mark III, which is my most recent little pickup.
Very nice.
Oh, Mark III, otherwise known as Phantom Robo. He is
Phantom Robo. Cool
an
name.
F4 Phantom. And when I saw this on the card backs of my GoBots in the day, I thought, how can anything possibly look this cool and still transform? I have a confession to make. Like, of the famous jets of the world, I never gravitated toward the Tomcat or the Eagle or the Falcon or Viper, as people prefer to call it. The Phantom, even though it was far older, just spoke to me with all those weird angles. You know, that split tail at the back and the sort of wingtips that arch upwards. I love this jet aesthetically. So yeah, I was on the hunt for it as a child. Never got it. Now I do. Yay!
There is something very special about the F4, at least, and especially in the eyes of a child. I mean, I think about when I was younger and they had those like die-cast jets, those really cool ones. I remember also seeing the F14, and I think there was an F15 at the time, and this little guy, but not transformable, obviously. And I remember gravitating towards that as well, and grabbing one. So
there's something also quite beautiful about the GoBots aesthetic, and that's zero kibble. Zero kibble. I mean,
their jet modes are awesome.
You have the trade-off of like essentially the back end of the jet being his legs, but I'll pay that to have a, you know, an almost sort of die-cast replica airplane toy. I mean, Matchbox or Hot Wheels wouldn't. Well, not that Hot Wheels does accurate jets, I don't think. Matchbox, I think, do. They couldn't do a better job, man. This is stunning.
It's cool that you mentioned. Oh, I was just gonna say, it's cool that you mentioned GoBot.
Bro, you know? I am on a GoBots tip at the moment. I'm closing in on a Blackbird, which wasn't released in the United States, I believe. Snoop, Machine Robo Snoop.
Oh yes, I actually know of that. Yeah,
beautiful. Also, just so nice.
On HLJ, they've actually got we know the character Cycle. I think it's Cycle.
Yep.
And then there's another one. Yeah. It's the Bike Robo, and then there's the little tank that Chris Miwa sent me. Or sent us. That little guy that like pops up. It's one of those changes, those change bots. They just change by themselves. They have that
quick
whole thing.
Switch or
no, something like that.
Top spin or twin twist with the drillers.
Yeah, so it's not the drilling one, unfortunately. It's the other one.
It's the jet.
Yeah, no, it's Warrior something. Warrior Bot, Warrior Robo is the name, the Japanese name. Anyway, I'll send you links. But I want to show you guys. This was sent to me to review from a local store here in South Africa. And this is a Joy Toy figure. And this does sort of fit in the realm of GI Joe because these are actually 3.75-inch figures, or technically 4-inch figures. They're also premium collectibles. However, this beast is, okay, aside from being an expensive toy, this toy is actually very playable, even though it is designed to be a premium collectible. It's super articulated. It uses metal for some of the joints.
What the hell is it for people listening who are mystified?
It is a... Okay, so...
I see the metal in the joints. That's amazing.
It's from Warhammer, from Warhammer 40k. And this is known as a Sisters of Battle, Sister of Battle, or a... well, I'm just going to use Sister of Battle because that's just the easiest way to get into it. And these are basically, just to sum it up in the easiest terms, these are hardcore space nuns. Let's just call them that. Okay? And in the Warhammer lore, they make sure that, because the Warhammer lore is all about like sort of fanaticism amongst its members, amongst the Space Marines and everything, these women, it's their task to make sure that there's no corruption. They root out and destroy corruption and all that. Anyway, they're just really badass. And this is a mech suit that she's wearing. It's a Paragon. I think it's called Paragon armor. And yeah, it's insane. And these display so well with, like, you know, if you have modern era GI Joes or you collect that scale, this is to display with that scale. And the company that makes this is Joy Toy, who also does these really beautiful mechs that are 1:18 scale that also can fit drivers and riders and stuff in. And I think some of the Bergforce members actually have some of those things. I know Bart has one. And
Acid
yeah,
Rain.
I was given
Is
this.
it Acid Rain?
No, it's not Acid
No.
Rain. No, Acid Rain is these guys I think are all their competitors to Acid Rain, I suppose. But very different aesthetic, very cool. Yeah, and just it's just interesting. It's I mean, I paint the Warhammer miniatures every now and then. So this is the first time I've ever like sort of jumped into something this way, and yeah, I was given it to review and check out and give some thoughts and feedback on. So
Do you have to
you
give
can't
it back?
separate. We're gonna find out. Sometimes we're allowed to get these things seeded, so we'll see. So maybe I'll get to keep it. It'll be cool to keep it. It's a cool toy. And it's just really it's well painted. It's great. I see there's a question. Adeptus Sororitas. Yeah, that's the. I just don't want to throw that in there because everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, what?" So it's just easy to call them Battle Sisters. Anyway, I see there's some great comments here.
But can you separate
the figure?
There you go.
No, you can't. Sadly, not this time. This wasn't designed that way, but it's because of the articulation of the mech. So to keep the aesthetic of the Paragon armor. You can't separate the sister, but the armor looks like it's got minimal articulation, but it's actually got a lot of articulation. So one of those trade-off, win some, lose some kind of things. That said, you can actually get the sisters themselves as small figures, and they look amazing. I actually wouldn't mind one of these.
I'm going to circle back to Darren Cobb's comment. Does Phantom Robo transform like Fireflight, which was one of the aerial bots who also transforms into an F4, if memory serves? The broad strokes, yeah. The bottom half of the jet becomes, or the back of the jet becomes the legs. The top becomes the robot or torso with the arms. But as I say, no kibble. Whereas all of the aerial bots have like blocky robot parts underneath the jet mode. This is a streamlined jet right the way through. They are lovely objects. I'm very enamored with GoBots now. And I've done some kind of research on the lore and how, like in the West, the Hanna-Barbera cartoon just cast the various robots as good or bad quite arbitrarily. Whereas in the Japanese cartoon, Psykill, what we know as Psykill, was just Bike Robo, and he was a hero. All of the vehicles are heroes. The kind of one of the key sort of principal heroes is the guy that we know as Fightor, sort of a red jet, who ironically in Japan is called Blue Jet, but he's still red. He's still red. Anyway, he's like the principal good guy. And the guy with the drill on his head, called Screwhead in the West, is also a good guy. All of the vehicles are good guys, as far as I can tell. And it's the monsters that are the baddies. Because remember, like the Renegades, the Renegade GoBots had all these kind of like creatures as well. They were like kind of like Insecticons, but more, I don't know, more mythological, monstrous things.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Those are the bad guys from the Japanese anime.
Okay.
Go figure. So it all of a sudden makes a lot more sense. You're like, yeah, that's why Psykill's toy doesn't look particularly menacing or sinister. That's why they animated him in the Hanna-Barbera cartoon as having like this, I don't know, this weird 5 o'clock shadow looking evil with the black rings around his eyes. Because in Japan, he was a good guy.
Fun.
He was also a leadership figure. I mean, he was kind of the nimble attack vehicle of the land forces of the Machine Robo faction. Anyway, hello, Bob and Stu. Welcome to the chats, guys. And Michael Mitchell, leader 1 was an F-15, correct. And I scored that figure on the last pod, actually. He's terrific. But he has a bit of trouble. He's a bit blockier than an actual F-15, whereas Phantom Robo, so nice. Anyway, I've spoken enough about
all of them are better than Transformers jets from that era, I'm sorry to say.
Well, they had a different aesthetic. They're just, as I say, beautiful objects. They had a different approach and should not be derided for coming in at a low price point. Yeah, I've found the love big time. accurate color, accurate amounts of clean lines, no kibble. But I could talk all day about GoBots, and I'm sure our GI Joe focused crowd would be like, dude,
Snooze time.
I wouldn't
It's a
even want to
snooze
listen to
time.
you talking about Transformers. Shall we segue to some stuff, or do you have some more new toys?
No, that's it. I mean, I think that's pretty rad actually what I got. I know I mentioned in a previous show about some new classifieds that popped up. I may have mentioned them by name, like guys like Tunnel Rats, but I do want to get them. Well, as you can see,
pictured
he's
Tunnel Rat
posed
in a permanent crawl. That's
yeah,
funny.
as you can see, I've got him like posed. I wonder why I've done that. So, but he looks cool, hey? Like I dig him. Like, another one of these stinking sewers. You know, like he's great. He's really cool. But yeah, there's a reason they posed, and I just don't want to really mess them up right now. So I did get some of that, but I'll save that for their own little videos and things. You know, especially for the Berg Force, for the Patreon guys, so that they can hear my thoughts on them. I have lots of thoughts on classified figures. I'm just trying to make a nice time to chat about them, actually.
Shall we
Yeah,
talk
but yeah, dude, thank you,
Homecoming,
man.
my brother?
Yes, that
All right.
Renegades, that GI Joe Renegades cartoon.
Let's finally get stuck into a GI Joe Renegades cartoon that I've been meaning to do for a long time now. But once again, the writing on this show continues to impress me. It's snappy, it's punchy. I've got a lot of love for it, even though it doesn't always feel like the most authentic telling of GI Joe. We see more douchebaggery from Flint. He's really set up as the anti-hero quite strongly in this cartoon series. I suppose he has a big character arc as a result. But the broad strokes of the plot. So, as you know, in the Renegades, Scarlet and the Joes are on the run from law enforcement and from Cobra. She wants to out this massive multinational corporation, aka Cobra, as being baddies who have ties to weapons trade and biological beings, like the bio vipers, or those blue things. Just bad news all round. Mind control as well. All these things she's trying to gather evidence on. Cobra, however, for the holidays, have decided to exert pressure on the families of the Renegades, particularly Duke's family. He tears off to try and warn them, maybe protect them from Cobra's interference, while Scarlet and the rest of the Joes go to a Christmas party to try and out the head of Cobra, the guy we know as Cobra Command, but he sort of has this corporate face. No one's ever seen him in the flesh, only in videos, and there's a reason for that. He uses holography.
I love the plot device there, by the way. Like the Cobra Christmas party. Like, I love that. And
to keep up face with your shareholders.
Yeah, it's just they nailed it. They got that whole corporate feel, like they got it down. Like for
Duke,
anybody here who works in corporate.
His parents are abducted by Cobra. He manages to head them off at the pass, and they manage to go home to Duke's house for a meal. Unfortunately, however, Duke's brother, Vincent, that should be ringing some bells,
Heroin addict,
has tipped off the cops or the military police, and Flint apprehends the Renegades. At that point, they wind up on a armored train, and Baroness is sent in to not only kill what is her task? She needs to capture or kill the Renegades themselves, but more importantly, she needs to secure the
hard drive,
the evidence, the hard drive that the Joes stole from the Christmas party. She succeeds in doing the latter, but of course the Renegades get off scot-free after managing to escape a runaway armored train. They drive off in the Coyote, which is their stolen Cobra vehicle with sort of holographic technology, and Flint vows, you may have helped us this time, but I'll get you next time, Duke. That old trope. Paul, what
And then
stood out in this whole shindig? Yes, Storm Shadow.
okay, so a few things. The first thing that jumped to mind was I love how Duke's parents were like super supportive of Duke and what he's doing. Like they don't think that he's a bad guy. They, and you get that impression because his brother. You get that impression. You get the impression that they would be disappointed in him, and they're not, which I think is pretty cool. So I dig that. That was a nice surprise. It was a nice twist, and it shows you that Duke comes from like a strong household. I love the setting up as Flint. I like that they have Flint and Duke have history together. So
They came from the small. Well, they came from perhaps adjacent towns. They both both played for rival football teams,
which I think is so. I think it's such a cool thing, actually, because it kind of gives these two characters pathos, and if the show ever went on, it would give them a stronger bond, because like it's Flint's fault that Duke didn't become a football star, which I like that. I like that how that all tied in. So that was cool.
Well, Flint might have denied Duke a career as a football player by sort of injuring him in that last game, but he did drop Duke off at the recruitment office.
He did.
So set him on that path of perhaps even greater heights, for Duke at least.
Yeah. I mean, now he has a life filled with danger and low pay,
Well, it's interesting.
as opposed to danger and high pay.
But where's he making a bigger difference? I don't know. It's
no, that is debatable. But oh, dude, that was cool. I also enjoyed the, I'm gonna like hone in on the ninjas. Crazy, like I can't believe, like, and this episode kind of like just brought it as like a bit of a sober realization. But Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow hadn't like when they meet each other on the train, you kind of, because of our Joe fandom, we kind of programmed to be like, okay, Storm Shadow probably works for Cobra now. But it's not the case. It still hasn't happened yet. And this is kind of where that relationship possibly could start in this universe. So I thought that was interesting because I actually totally forgot that Storm Shadow didn't work for Cobra. That Storm Shadow was just being an asshole. That was interesting. That was a nice take. What else, man? There was something else that I liked in this episode quite a bit. Oh, and I hope that I'm quoting this episode. I think it's in the second part of Homecoming because it's a two-parter. There are two Cobra security team members, and they're sort of stationed in the cold, and they're complaining, and they're like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, I let the wrong people into the corporate party or something like that." And then the other one refers to another episode where he also messed up and let the GI Joes go in for something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I thought that was such a cool bit of continuity, like, that they referenced that.
That's news to me, man.
So yeah, again, it could have been because I did watch the episode. I feel like I watched an episode after this, possibly. Memory is not what it used to be sometimes with some things. But yeah, but that was a cool callback. So if it's not in this one, it's in the next episode. But anyway,
I had a few things that really stood out to me. Like, just I had an absolute belly laugh when they're in the coyote at the top of the two-parter, the first part, and but they're discussing what everyone's sort of family traditions are with Christmas, and Tunnel Rat's like, "Yeah, we don't do Christmas much because of sort of mixed ethnicity. So I'm basically working in my family restaurant 24/7 because to try and cater for everyone else's Christmas." And then he asks Snake Eyes, "So what do you guys do for Christmas at the dojo? Take the star off the tree and throw it?" Or he just
very cute, yeah.
Take the star off the tree and whew. Very, very funny. Another sort of side splitting, like a little bit racy. Well, it's an intentional double entendre when they when they sneak into the Cobra Christmas party. Scarlet and Tunnel Rat are Santa's elves, and Roadblock is Ho Ho Ho, the jolly man in red himself. And they're trying to blag their way in, saying like, "I'm here for the Christmas party." And the Cobra God is like, "You don't look like you come from the North Pole."
Yeah, that was ballsy.
Interesting.
But I like that because I don't think that I think that it was clever because it's skirting around the whole race topic and making people quite aware of the fact that some people are, without realizing it, a little racist. So I kind of like
the Cobra guys are assholes and they deserve
and it gets
to have a beat down. I mean, he does
Yeah.
get his comeuppance. Roadblock puts down the heavy sack that he was carrying, and out pops sort of a palm strike, taking out the guy.
Merry Christmas. I didn't think that
dude.
because it was just.
Are you imitating the music cues that happen every time?
All the time.
Once you have an awareness of it, you just can't stop. It's pervasive every single time Snake Eyes is on screen. I never get tired of making light of that. I would like to point out how extremely proficient Baroness is at all points of this. And Cobra Command is an asshole. He's like, you want something done right? I have to do it myself. He sits in his recliner and uses his drones to destroy an empty decoy. So he fails, but he blusters. He's like, yes, that's how it's done, Baroness. Boom. He's blown up an entire refinery, collateral damage. But he's cocky enough to say that that's how it should be done. Meanwhile, it comes to light that the Joes have in fact survived, and they're on this train. So he sends Baroness to clean up, and she does it magnificently. She flies in on a black dragon transport, and then fights Snake Eyes on the roof of that transport to a standstill. Okay.
Yeah.
That no one gets one over on each other.
Her jetpack is so cool.
Oh, it's rad. But the Snake Eyes manages to take that out with a kind of a boomerang thing.
Yeah, he pulls all kinds of ninja weapons out of his ass. That's one of them.
And she pulls out this kind of energy orb weapon that she starts. Yeah, like red Hadoukens that she throws at Snake Eyes. Anyways, as I say, they fight to a standstill until Storm Shadow shows up mysteriously out of the blue. He has a tendency to just appear on the train, because he and Snake Eyes then proceed to fight, and he gets knocked off the train, and the next minute he's back in the train again. Hey, what's he hiding up his sleeve?
This bugs me so much.
Tell me about it.
So much, and then just not to add insult to injury, they have this bugs me. So you got ninja, and then oh god, it kills me. I hate it.
For people listening, what did you just gesture?
Just the head. He's bangs hanging out the side there. I don't know. I can't understand the design, but behind his head here, I don't know how did this get through the art direction process. I'm surely people in the office turned around, and I mean, listen, the late Clement Sauvé was an amazing character designer. Please don't misunderstand me, but did nobody just look at him and go but people just scared to tell him that this was a cuck design? I would have told him straight. I would have been like, is this a ninja or a rabbi? Just fucking sort it out, please. This is horrible. Anyway, sorry, I keep bitching about this because I fucking hate this design, and I think it puts a lot of people off Storm Shadow, and me being number one Storm Shadow fanboy with all the other number one Storm Shadow fanboys were offended by this.
Yeah, I bet those parts that you could use to make the 30th anniversary or the Renegades Storm Shadow, you could adapt him into this look as opposed to his more standard.
I've never popped it on the body.
It's probably still in the bubble, isn't it?
No, I take everything out of the bubble and I put it into a plastic container, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
Getting back on the Baroness praise train, she then goes inside the train, handily defeats every single MP. I mean, I don't think she leaves a single man standing. She cuts a swath through everyone, not using subterfuge or anything, using bombs and martial arts skills and distraction charges. Like they're kind of like smoky flashbangs. Makes her way to where the prisoners are being held, and that's when Storm Shadow rejoins the fight somehow. Anyway, she then hands. Well, okay, Storm Shadow takes out all the boys, so we don't have any
That horrible trope.
women or men fighting each other, and Baroness just kicks Lady J and Scarlet's ass, gets the hard drive, and escapes. Bravo.
And then somebody farts. Just a quick rewind and a question. Do you think all those people at that corporate party, if they had actually seen the true Cobra Commander's face for longer than, what is it, like a second or something before the feed gets cut, do you think they really would have minded? Like, do you think they all would have been like, oh no, we work for this this multinational organization and this is our boss? Oh no, they just would have been like, okay, cool, our boss is a weirdo. I think Cobra Commander's taking this a bit far. Like, I understand within the realm of the cartoon, but I just wanted to bring some real world logic in for 2 seconds. I think most people would have just been like, fuck it, he pays our salaries. We're assholes. We work for an asshole. Cool. Maybe they wouldn't have said it that way, but you know what I'm saying.
Look, I mean, it's less about them and more about securing the hard drive so that the public at large don't see it. And look, once the secret's out, the secret's out. I think the whole holography thing it's cute, but he'd be better off using like a double, a paid actor. Using
pre-recorded video, like any other CEO.
Yeah, just use a puppet. Anyways, it would be less interesting that way. And
thank you for making Cobra Industries so awesome.
They do 3 Star Wars tropes in a row on this episode. I don't know if you noticed, but like when they are at the Christmas party and they're broken into the control center and they're trying to mess with the feed. So they get Cobra like radio in to the control center and they're like, what's going on in there? And Roadblock gets on the mic and he sort of blusters that he's like, we got satellite interference, sunspots, and then Tunnel Rat destroys it. So that's the Han Solo sort of bluster, and then the Han Solo destroy the control panel, and then the third and final Star Wars trope in a row is the door gets cut open and like stormtroopers, aka the sort of Cobra security, start pouring through, shooting. So I'm like, yeah, I see what you did there.
I see you also like Star Wars.
There's something so weird. Like Flint's characterization is fine, I guess. I mean, he's unnecessarily asshole all the time. But that's fine. He's the anti-hero or the antagonist. But he says something that is so weird in his mouth when they're interrogating the Joes inside the armored train. He's like, the only reason I can think of why you did something so stupid is if somebody paid you a lot of Benjamins to do it. Now that is way too hip-hop for Flint to be saying. This straight-laced stickler for the rules is going to refer to money or a bribe as Benjamins. Come on.
Maybe he's just trying something. He's trying to be cool. He's trying to be hip with the lingo. They outlaws now, so he's like, oh, I got to be like a little gangster to talk to them.
Yeah, I just listened to some Jay-Z, so I'm gonna talk street to you guys. We have interesting flashbacks all around. Like Flint and Duke have their sort of football playing history and the sort of recruitment office trip together, but Lady J also she offers a sort of a character testimonial and say that she believes that Duke is right. I mean, she trusts Duke because Duke saved her life in the field.
That was cool.
Yeah,
that's the other thing I wanted to mention.
Very nice.
For some reason I thought it was in another episode.
No, it was this one. Also, and in that episode, we get name drops for Stalker, who was kind of calling the shots on that operation, telling Duke to get out of there. But Duke defied. In fact, we've got a visual on Stalker. He kind of wears a boonie hat.
Cool.
It looks very cool. Yeah.
Also, Duke playing the Snake Eyes role, if you think about it, in this flashback. Yeah.
Well, in a previous flashback, actually, where he is disarming a mine and Scoop.
Skoog. It's Skoog.
Is it Skoog? I heard Scoop.
Tripwire.
Okay, it's Tripwire. Good. Okay, so we have a name drop or a cameo by Stalker, a cameo by Tripwire. Tripwire steps on a mine, ironically, and before Duke can disarm it, it goes off, and Duke gets some injuries on his back. That's new interesting information. Yeah.
Sorry, the audio cue for Proto Snake Eyes here.
Anyway, let's get into the merits of this episode. Paul, I mean, what did you think, buddy? If you were to rate this,
I'm gonna rate it. I'm gonna rate it pretty high. Because like this show keeps getting better and better. These last few episodes have been quite strong with the writing in some respects. Oh God, there's that Storm Shadow again.
I thought I'd leave that on the screen just for you, buddy.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. So I enjoy this episode because it starts giving us that cool backstory stuff that I like. That starts informing who these characters are. The cameos are cool. The action set pieces are good. We get some real movement in the story, which I feel has taken a while. It's taken a long time to get here, and so now it starts getting real momentum. So for me, it's going to be like, I would say a 4.5 out of 5 for me for this one, because I also like the ending as well of this two-parter. Like, I'm going to spoil it here because, guys, you have to have watched it already, but just like, I like the ending. I like the middle point. I love that Falcon's an asshole. I actually do dig that. Falcon's also got an arc that he has to go through.
What happens in the ending, Paul? Come on, spoil it.
It's like, God, why do I keep thinking? Oh, it's the. Wait, hold on. I hope I'm not getting this wrong now, because the ending I'm referring to is that when they have dinner, and then it gets abruptly, like, it gets like cut in half, basically, because Falcons are like, there they are. There's
that's
that's
the ending of the first. Yeah, that's the ending of the first part.
Okay, I like that because.
Oh, dude, there's a moment in that made me laugh out loud as well, because you got sort of all these military police, Flint's boys, like bursting through the door, surrounding the building, and then totally gratuitously, totally unnecessary, a guy smashes the window with the tip of his gun and points it at the family. And I'm like, that window did not have to be smashed, bro. The Joes are surrounded.
It's like, I've done something. Yeah.
You're almost shooting point blank range. You don't need to take out the window to do it, or to have an accurate shot on the Joes. Anyway, I just thought, and he's pointing his gun through that window, like, yeah. And I mean, the first animation frame, he's smashing just through a window pane, and then it cuts to a wide, and the whole like frame of the window is like smashed outwards, like or inwards. Yeah.
If you're gonna do your job, do it right. If you're gonna smash a window, really smash that window.
Necessary.
What did you think, dude? Like point wise for you, like, what would you give it?
I love seeing Baroness being utilized as like this like combat goddess. It's very almost anime.
Terminator.
Her level of proficiency. Sunbow, she did a lot of subterfuge stuff, a lot of kind of maskings. But in terms of like just kicking serious ass, yeah, this representation of Baroness, I suppose the plot needed it to be, because Cobra only sent one person, and that's her. Like, she's not going to go with her legion. She just goes alone with her tech. Amazing. So that was cool. The flashbacks add a lot of interesting information. Everyone seems to have backstories with everyone else. It's remarkable. And once again, scripting on points. There's some zingers that, like, I feel like all land. Whereas not everything with Sunbow, maybe it's an age thing, or maybe the writing was more geared towards children, but I feel like some of the humor in the cartoon that we're more accustomed to is a little bit fuddy-duddy, whereas this stuff, it's strong. So I'm going to also carry on with the positivity and give this a 4 out of 5.
Nice, dude.
Moon Killer goes in strong with 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
4.5 out of 5. Nice.
Nicely done, dude. Yeah, that's me too. Like, I think it's a very good two-parter. Even though for the life of me right now, I just can't remember the actual ending.
The actual ending is Storm Shadow just rocking up. I mean, he appears out of nowhere all the time. Twice on the train, and now just in Cobra HQ. And he says, Cobra Command has resources I would like to utilize. So,
do they have dental and medical?
So that's good enough to warrant a spot on the team. And yeah, so she takes him into the bowels of the Cobra HQ and introduces him to the family.
Oh yes, there's the whole mindbender thing. Yeah, and then he blows something up, and
presumably Destro's back there somewhere, sulking.
I think it's such a waste that we didn't get it's a loss that we didn't get that Baroness as a figure. I think it would have been cool.
Would she be cooler than OG Baroness? Would she be cooler than the Resolute Baroness with the sort of the grey trench coat? Actually, no, she's not. She's a bit crazy. Like the trench coat didn't really, and the trench coat doesn't sit nicely. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't hate that toy. I don't hate that toy. I just don't love that toy. Is more like how I feel about it. I don't know. I just would have loved to have seen a Baroness in that art style as a figure, because I feel we were robbed of a Baroness. We got the Scarlet, thank you, and we got Ripcord. Who gives a fuck? Sorry. Except for the Ripcord fans out there, yeah, cool power to you, but like we got Ripcord, and yay. Could have had Baroness instead, I think. Could have been way more interesting. So,
all right, Paulus, do you want to talk about an old comic book or a new comic book?
I kind of feel that you would be a bit more invested in the new comic book because you're a big fan of what it's a continuation of. So I feel like I wouldn't be as interesting speaking about that. But issue 10 is an interesting issue. It's a cool issue. It comes. It also reminds you why Larry Hama is the writer of GI Joe. I mean, we've had some stuff from other guys, and then we get an issue from Larry Hama, and we start getting in all that technical dialogue that the Joes have infiltrated some kind of skyscraper somewhere, and they immediately they've completely sussed out the whole situation. They know that there's fake cameras and everything planted around the roof, and it's really, really interesting. But it's actually a trap, and they get pulled into this trap, and it's actually the trap is an opening to a vehicle that then transports them to Springfield. I'm just doing the quick overview, and then we can get into all the nice details. But then it whizzes them off to this mysterious town, which we then find out is Springfield, after Scarlet does a significant amount of shrooms and has a bad trip.
Can you explain that this is why that is the title of this episode, Ellie?
Yes, that is exactly. I saw that and I was like, what a great moment to put up as a thumbnail. We never see the Joes like that, so let's do it. And I know we've missed Halloween here by a week, but at least it's a little bit Halloween-y,
Claw hands and bats
and just that terror face on Scarlet, which you seldom see. So they find out
she shares Batman's phobia of bats, because in her sort of maybe she'll become moment she goes there,
and she's a redhead. Maybe she's secretly Batgirl.
Oh yeah, Barbara. But no, they're actually gargoyles, Paul.
Yeah, they're gargoyles. That's the whole thing. You have to watch the episode to know that they're gargoyles. You have to read the comic book to know that they're gargoyles. Anyway, we find out that Snake Eyes is being interrogated by none other than Dr. Venom, and we are introduced to the brainwave scanner, you and I can go into this ad nauseum because I think it's kind of an important thing about this issue. And the Joes have another occupant. There's another occupant in the cell that the Joes are being held in, and it's a young boy whose name we don't know. And he's been planning his escape, and has just been waiting for some muscle. Muscle has finally arrived. This is, of course, after Zap decides he wants to stop being a tortoise, and part of the Void Conf test. For those of you Blade Runner fans, nice deep cut there for you. And then, hilarity ensues when the Joes finally escape this place, and they follow the young man, who then has great intel, and they go off on their mission to go and save Snake Eyes, who's being brutally interrogated through the use of the brainwave scanner. And then we find out quite a lot about Springfield, and thankfully, the Joes managed to survive this ordeal. They managed to hijack the vehicle again, take it back to New York, and then crash the premiere of the Hulk movie. So they actually time traveled into the future. No, I'm kidding. The Lou Ferrigno Hulk films, I imagine. And there we go.
Wasn't it a convention?
It was a See the Hulk grand opening at Bayonne Mall. So I imagine it's a movie premiere, a premiere for us plebs, Like,
Paul, I was a day old when I realized that you're absolutely right. It's a Hulk movie. Huh.
Yeah, nice on there, Marvel. Sneaky co-branding.
Well, yes, there's a lot of Marvel praise in that last page. Just how they
and it's quite accurate because Marvel didn't even give them royalties; they just gave them bus fare. Oh shit! Anyway, fascinating issue this because we start.
Isn't it just? It is.
There's so much interesting shit, and I just wanted to speak about my favorite thing. Sorry.
Carry on.
My favorite thing in this issue is that we get the whole way that Cobra's organization works and how it grows is sort of given to us in this issue. And I haven't read this issue in a very, very, very long time, like a very long time. So I don't know if this was just sitting in my memory somewhere, but I distinctly remember a podcast where we spoke about this, and I was like, Cobra Commander either does like a motivation seminar or gets people involved in a pyramid scheme or something like that, and that's how people get stuck into Cobra. And that is outlined in this issue, and I absolutely freaking love this issue for that, because that is so clever. He doesn't sit there like with a drive and be sneaky. He co-ops people. It is so cool. That for me is the real sugar of this whole thing. I mean, yes, the brainwave scanners introduced and all that good stuff, and there's a Billy cameo, or Billy. I suppose I don't know how confirmed that is. You're the guru here, so we'll refer to you. But I just love that that's the side of Cobra we get, and that is clever and it's sinister, and it really tells us who our enemy is. So that's cool. That's my favorite thing about this issue. Sorry, Steve. So yeah.
Well, yes. Okay. So I mean, major. I suppose GI Joe lore. GI Joe lore being dropped in this issue. Springfield and its descent into being a Cobra-controlled town, thanks to a pyramid scheme, the soap people, the brainwave scanner, Dr. Venom and the brainwave scanner, huge impact, and then the subtle third spot taken up by Billy, who, I mean, Larry was quick to say that all of his writing is a constant retcon, because all of these ideas are wet cement in his mind. Those are my words. But yeah, it's always subject to change. So in this issue, Billy doesn't go with the Joes. He stays behind to fight in the anti-Cobra underground because his family is still in Springfield. How can that be when Billy's family is Cobra Commander? He's Cobra Commander's son. And his mother, I don't think, was ever depicted as being anti-Cobra. So, I mean, by family, maybe he means an adopted family, the people he thought were his parents, or maybe their extended family, like cousins, uncles. Anyway, so basically he's got people in Springfield that he needs to stay with. But yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think this is the same Billy that tries to assassinate Cobra Commander at Baroness and Major Blood's behest in
Yep.
the Springfield rally, and it's the same Billy that then becomes Storm Shadow's apprentice and becomes an on-again, off-again ally to the Joes, depending on what continuity you're reading. So yeah, he is a major character that's also got his start in issue 10. But then there's some subtle other things that we get in issue 10 as well. Snake Eyes' backstory. This is the first reference to the helicopter incident that scarred him.
Actually wanted to ask you about that. I didn't want to Google that. I was like, I'm going to ask Steve if this is the first time we get that story.
This is it. Yeah. Like, it's like all of Larry's ideas have been percolating over the year, and he's decided to dump them all into this issue. I mean, this might have been stuff that he would have used for Fury Force, the precursor to GI Joe, but it's terrific, and it kind of embeds it with historical events. We get a lot of insight into Snake Eyes. You know, we get to see him at what Dr. Venom calls some sort of adolescent courtship ritual. I mean, Venom is so detached from humanity; he doesn't even know what.
He's got such Asperger's, bro. Well, no offense to Asperger's, I'm just saying it's like he is obviously a little autistic because this is all very like.
He's clearly never been to a senior prom. Yeah, but I love the fact that Mike Vosberg, the artist, he calls the gas station that Snake Eyes worked at Tuxedo. And then the very next panel is, golly, you look terrific in a tux. There was some, the scripting and the art chores kind of line up at that point. I don't know if it was intentional, that Tuxedo is one letter removed from tuxedo, hence the joke. And then Larry scripting later on decided to just kind of pick up that ball. He could have just said in a tuxedo, but that maybe that would have been too heavily handed.
Well, actually, I would say that you're right. I would agree with you on that because a little bit, if you fast forward a little bit to the arcade, there's a game on the, I think it's on the left-hand side, bottom left. There we go. Yeah, it's called Vader. And then later on, I think it's the next page or the page after, he goes when the kid in the gun turret is actually shooting at the Joes. He says something about he's gonna waste these Vaders,
or he's gonna.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll get him, and I have a champ around this arcade. So basically, Dr. Venom's evil lab resides underneath a video arcade, and in the center of the video arcade is a sort of practical, like, moving turret game. The turret actually fires real lasers. Like, everything in Springfield is weaponized. There's
one more for me, sorry, bro. Sorry, I can't shake it now.
Poison gas in the pizza parlors, and radars in all sort of hollowed out signs. Paul, you're right about the scripting. It's somewhere, but
okay, so you do recall reading it. Okay, so it's not just me like having some kind of like illusionary moment. Okay, then that's fine. That's fine. I don't want to, it's not some kind of waking dream. But it's crazy. Oh, there we go.
Another one. I can knock down Vaders. Yeah, I can knock them out fast as I can knock down Vaders. Now it's apostrophe Vaders, so it's invaders. But
invaders, like space invaders. Yeah.
Maybe Larry wanted to play it safe. I mean, it was the 80s, and these things were not policed as stringently, but like, just to play it safe, they never say space invaders.
I think he also just didn't want to be on the nose. It's kind of like, I'm not as far as like a knockdown space invaders. That's kind of, it's a lot of syllables. It's a lot of Vaders sounds.
A lot of letters in the word balloon.
Yeah. So, but I do feel like that kind of continuity, those little things are there. That little bit of foreshadowing is there. There's another piece as well that they have. Actually, it's not. But I thought it would be, and I'm sure. I know it was mentioned here in the comments. The light bulb poisoning, or the light bulb sterilization of the water to remove the medicinal effect.
Well, that was lucky.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky. I don't know.
So Billy he's been inside the cell a lot longer than Scarlet and Zap, and he has realized somehow, it has dawned on him because of something he read, that if you hold the cups of water up to the light, it will neutralize the hallucinogens that they've been putting in the water. I mean, that's a plot contrivance. I'll allow it.
Yeah, it's like
there are a lot of plot contrivances in this. This, if released today, would be panned for all the conveniences that it has. Somehow, it is far more acceptable in an old funny book than, I think of the scrutiny that I level at like modern IDW, the previous run of GI Joe, and I'm like, no, Stephen, stop it. I know that the audience is just us old folks. I mean, no one new is no children are buying the IDW and Skybound GI Joe books. At least I don't think. And this Marvel of the 80s is definitely being bought and read by children. I mean, you need only look at the letters page to realize how young the people reading this book were. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe, but why should the writer of GI Joe change his stripes and suddenly like make it even more adult than it was in the 80s? Anyway, all I'm saying is,
true.
This is deliciously, like, it's a romp. It has very little kind of real world bearing and like realism, and yet it feels fun and gives once again so much insight. We see that Snake Eyes' family was killed in a flaming car wreck.
Mm-hmm.
We also realize that Snake Eyes has the ability to feign death, because what gets him out of the brainwave scanner is Dr. Venom thinks that he is in fact dead. So he unstraps him and takes him down. His vital signs have disappeared, but that's because he has learned the way of the inner anvil.
Okay. Yeah, it's very cool.
Amazing.
WJ commented on the arcade and asking, is Polybius there? Nice deep cut, bud. I was actually having this conversation with somebody the other day. I don't want to go into it too deep here, but I think Cujo would have also loved the mentioning of Polybius. Steve, if you don't know, I do suggest you Google it. I don't want to go and waste too much of the episode talking about it. But yeah, guys, do yourselves a favor and read up about Polybius, the mysterious arcade game. There's quite a lot of YouTube stuff. There's a lot written about it, to be fair. So check it out. But yeah, it would have been a nice deep cut had they like sort of hidden that there. But I don't think they knew about it. I think Polybius is something that there was no internet back then, like how the internet was at least in the 90s. So at least nobody really got that kind of information. Guys, I'm sorry for the mansplain. Just in case somebody really young is watching this episode, they should know that the internet wasn't there. It takes old people like us to tell young people like them about this. Carrying on. Sorry, Steve.
I think it was released a little bit too late for this comic book, but what caught my eye was something called Red Baron. Now, I had a Red Baron. Yeah, I had a Red Baron game on my father's 486 computer.
Before then, it was on the 4800, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah. I loved that game. I got a lot out of it. It is a World War I aerial sim. So biplanes and triplanes dogfighting over the skies of Western Europe. Very exciting, and gave me a huge focus on that period of aviation. I used to get books out by the droves to try and read up about those fabulous men and their flying machines.
Well, Shah Aznavour's character is based on the Red Baron from Gundam. Just fun fact. And to a greater or lesser degree, I think Wild Weasel is as well, in some respect. So just coming back to this issue, there are some great moments. I mean, yes, we are introduced to the brainwave scanner. It's a big plot device in GI Joe. For better or worse, it's here now. I know some people feel that this is a very overused piece of technology in GI Joe. I tend to agree with those people, especially in the modern stuff, and in the later bits of the line, it's kind of got a little bit stupid. But I think we will be able to speak about that more clearly when we hit those points.
I think Probably because it's kind of a do anything device. It can remove your own will in the modern iterations. It becomes more of a brainwashing device. Whereas here, the brainwave scanner, and it's ingeniously explained by Dr. Venom, it basically shows images to the person strapped into it and records their brain patterns so that it builds a vocabulary that when they then just monitor the brainwave patterns, they can put it together. Like, oh, he's thinking of an apple, and he's thinking of a tank, and he's thinking. So you can read a person's mind because you've built up this association of image and what it does to the brain. Very clever. I'm down with that. That's an excellently kind of explained mechanism. Where things get dicey is where it's used to basically turn a human being into a computer. You can input memories, you can brainwash them to make them evil, on command. Like the repertoire of things that the brainwave scanner can do makes it essential to every single Cobra plot, and that's the slippery slope that we've gone all the way to the bottom of.
I just want to throw some shade at Darren quickly. Shut your dirty mouth, Darren. Ninjas are not overused. Yes, I know I'm using my immersive voice. Because I can't drum up my Zartan voice. Right now, I can't get a Zartan voice right now on command. I'm so sorry. But anyway,
you need to put on some reverb.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we hear you, Darren. Ninjas were like also overly used. I mean, everything in comic books was at some point. Steve, to come back to your point about this comic book being kind of goofy and maybe sort of panned by today's audiences and sort of all ripped apart by the fanboys, I kind of feel like that's what makes the modern GI Joe stuff kind of suck a little bit for me anyway. Is I feel like the goofiness in the modern stuff is wrong. Like the flavor of it is wrong. I don't have a problem with it being there. I just feel like the flavor of it is wrong, and it hurts. It spoils the batch for me in a lot of ways because the story is almost too serious, and then they throw in the weird wobbliness that they have, and it just doesn't make sense. Whereas here, it makes sense, like how the old Adam West Batman show makes sense. It's a lot of goofy stuff, but it works visually and it works from a story point of view. And I'm not just defending Larry Hama here. I also want to refer to another very, very amazing mangaka and writer, and that's Katsuhiro Otomo, the guy who wrote Akira, because I'm reading the Akira graphic novels, the manga at the moment. And it's a very serious story, to be sure. And I'm sure most of you guys know that if you've ever read or watched the Akira anime. But it also has goofiness. It also has stuff that is slightly, it's not super plausible, but it's kind of believable. And that's the magic that I kind of find is in this kind of style of comic book storytelling. And it's something that we're missing a lot of in current comic books. Maybe because us fanboys have just gotten a bit too anal in the wrong way. So, hello, Dr. Grant.
Good day, Alan Grant. What has he got to say? Hey boys, Steve, where's that incredible goatee Mo combo gone? Or is there some light tricky going on? Well, to anyone watching this and to anyone listening, yeah, I had an interesting kind of bit of facial hair going on last week. That is gone because, I was in a production of Shakespeare's The Tempest. And I might have said it before on the show, but I'll say it again. When you're in the Shakespeare, you grow the beard. You can always make some fun character choices, just beard acting. So yeah, I had a big curly mustache and quite a long goatee. Fun. There are pictures online. Find them. And yes, Paul is showing off his Velociraptor to Dr.
I can't help but show off my dinosaurs when Alan Grant appears. I know he gets excited about dinosaurs just as much as I do. Maybe more
Paul,
so than I do.
Having read this issue and having read the immediately preceding issue 9, where Scarlet saves the day,
yes,
I couldn't help but notice that it ends in almost this. Well, they have the same device happen in both, and that's they hijack a plane. The pilot is a Cobra, and they have a kerfuffle in the cabin. The Cobra gets taken out, and the control panel gets wasted. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting when you consider that they were not written by the same authors or writers.
Mm.
Larry wrote 10, and Steve Grant wrote 9. And I mean, I guess it was just in the waters at the time that scene would play out. Maybe there was something on TV around that time that both authors watched. But
Aeroplane 2.
Stuck out at me. I have a starred comment from way at the back of this podcast where Darren Cobb says, a nice little town like ours, where you see the peak of aerodynamic Cobra transport. No wonder Destro made a fortune selling them stuff later from Mars.
Everything's a flying brick.
It's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen. I think I need to call up an image of it right now as we give our scores. But Paul, are you going to score this one pretty highly? What do you reckon?
I am. There is so much juice in this. I mean, okay, let's just from beginning of the book to the end of the book. I mean, we got the Joes just being badasses, but in a cool way. Describing how certain the names of different kinds of explosives and that they've scanned areas and they just being specialists and reminding us that they're specialists, which is amazing.
What was this building supposedly defending itself from? Spider-Man? I mean, the kind of detail that they go into how a rooftop on a building has mines on it. I don't know if that's clever, because those mines go off. Well, I suppose explosions explode up and outwards, but still, you're putting active bombs in your own building. But the building was just a shell anyway. I mean, that's why this is such a hokey bit of sci-fi romp. I mean, the building really was just an empty shell to hold this crazy flying ship.
It was.
How?
And also, it was really easy to attack from the ground level. I mean, it turns out there weren't any trip lines on the stairwells, so that's great news for everybody that went up for Rock and Roll and Crew. Yeah. So I mean, that whole thing notwithstanding, I mean, he had to get them to Springfield somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that had its problems, but I do love that you see that the Joes are badasses, and then we introduce the Springfield, which is a character in GI Joe more than just as much as it's a geographic location. It's a character, and then we introduce to the brainwave scanner, which is crazy. Then it's this mysterious kid who, I can imagine reading this comic at the time when there was only 10 comics for G.I. Joe, and you were reading the 10th one. You were wondering, wow, there's an anti-Cobra movement. I wonder if G.I. Joe will work with them in future episodes. Or I wondered, maybe this kid was just secretly a spy. Maybe he's spying on the Joes. I can imagine the intrigue. There was a lot of intrigue and a lot of conversations around this comic book, especially around older readers, So that was pretty cool. I love that. You've got Snake Eyes' memories that then come from the brainwave scanner. So then giving us a bit of history into who he is, what's happened to him, how certain things have gone down. So that was pretty cool. Then apparently Paris Sue was a romantic. So that was a nice takeaway from the issue. Thank you for the screen grab. And then just later on we are then introduced to, like I said, the whole then Snake Eyes' powers, man. Fuck, this is a great issue. This is a must-have issue, which I'm sure is going up in price now as we're speaking on this stream, on this podcast / stream. But I think 10 is kind of a milestone issue. There's a lot of big things that become permanent features in G.I. Joe. And I'm going to also, I'm rolling high tonight. It's 4 out of 5 for this one. I think it's, yeah.
I was always a bit down on 10. But really? After reading it most recently, I'm like, this is dropping a lot. I think I take it for granted, all of the information that it unveils, because this is stuff we return to time and time again. But in issue 10, it was all fresh. This is our first blush with it, and it all happened in one issue. It's astounding. Do you notice that Grunt is wearing Flash's pads, or Grand Slam's pads? Which leads me to believe that at least perhaps there was the idea existing in the artist Mr. Vosberg's mind that maybe those pads were just assault gear for anyone to kind of pick up and use. Like that's what GI Joe body armor looks like. At least that's the kind of fan explanation or no prize that I'm going to offer to what is widely regarded as an art flub or lettering flub.
Very much so.
You know,
a cool panel though, hey?
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
script flub. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I feel like there's some things about this issue that I want to touch on when we talk about the next issue. Not the next issue of GI Joe Real American Hero, but rather the next future episode, the one that we're going to talk about, 280. Yeah.
280. Yeah.
So that's going to be quite cool. But there was one other thing. I found this to be a bit prescient. It's on the very last page, on the last or second last page. When they crash into that Marvel Hulk premiere, I know that this is probably like the editor at the time going, hey, listen, can we just get a little bit of spin? Can you guys write a bit of spin and draw a bit of spin into this issue? You know, have Scarlet crashing on the Hulk. But I love the words here. It's like, what's going on here? Did Marsha Rosenberg book you for this opening too without telling me? Opening of what? And then it goes down and we see all these like supposedly nerds, which look like totally normal people. And then it's like, and then it goes on about how like
a pipe in the back. Like if this,
remember when you could smoke in malls? And then, but there is this like thing where they talk about, oh wow, Marvel launches are always like big. They're always like amazing. And I thought that was like kind of an interesting line. Like Marvel,
they're pumping up Marvel a lot in that. I don't know if Larry was looking to get promoted or a raise or something.
No, he probably just does. The editors probably just asked him to, because it was probably part of a marketing drive to coincide with the launch of the film in cinemas. So they you probably find the Spider-Man book at the same time as this was launched. Also has like a Hulk influence. And in fact, it'd actually be interesting if the guys in the comments, if you know that, please check it out. If you know when the coinciding Spider-Man issue came out, it would be cool to know. But it's interesting because when you read this, I don't know what the temperature was like at the time with the fandom and stuff, but I know that whenever a Marvel movie was a superhero movie was announced initially, and when we were kids, it was like, oh boy, we weren't excited. We weren't like, this is going to be great. We were like, it was always met with trepidation. So now we finally at a time, okay, we're there again now, but we were at a point where, oh wow, oh my god, Avengers something's butt is coming out. Oh, I hope we find out who, what like Iron Man's favorite condom brand is in this one. Whatever.
I'd like to make light of something that Dabuya J points out. Does Sergeant Stalker watch Broadway plays? So Stalker initially was sort of this jive talking guy, but we have seen his evolution in these first 10 issues to being like a commander of a small unit, to now being an intellectual, because yes, he name drops. He's like, he talks about Les Miserables. So clearly he's a cultured man. He likes to watch a good old show from time to time. Terrific. He is the sort of the warrior poet. He's the conscience of GI Joe, and we see him becoming that before our very eyes. Paul, you have a decision to make. You could either, and also Gaz says, like, why would you be blowing bubbles in a sewer? You do not want to be chewing anything mouth related in a filthy sewer. Don't be doing that, Breaker. Anyway, Paul, you have a choice to make, I'm afraid, because my son, he is calling out my name, and Kim worked late, so I'm not going to bug her and make her wake up. You can either close out the show on your lonesome with the fine folks in the chat and talk about issue 280, or we can come back in 2 weeks' time and do it together. I don't mind either way. Don't let that trip you up.
Okay, well, honestly, I would love to do it. Because of this issue, I would like to do it with you on the next episode of the show.
You're setting me up.
Sorry, bro.
Wow,
sorry, man.
It's solo this podcast. How exciting!
it's not that. It's just that I think I don't think I can add what you can add to this. So, and I think our viewers / listeners would be robbed if we didn't.
And I think perhaps next time we should do this, but also read issue 34 of the Marvel run.
Yes.
So your homework,
so we can link them,
dear listener, is watch the cartoon episode Haul Down the Heavens, read issue 280 of the IW series, and read issue 34 of the Marvel series. All will be revealed in due course.
Ooh, I love this. I just got to jump this in here. Handsome Head Injury asks, hey, have you guys heard Word Burglar's GI Joe theme songs? Yes, we have. We have actually had the pleasure of having Word Burglar on the show, actually. And we've met him in person. Really, really awesome guy. But yes, we totally heard Rap Viper. It's very cool. And what's even cooler than that, have you heard his new song, which I absolutely love? It is golden. Guys, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please check out the new Word Burglar single. It's a Word Burglar single. It's really, really good. Wow, seeing myself big on the screen right now, talking to you guys is awkward. So I'm just going to make sure I'm looking at the chats. Now I don't have a Steven to look at when I'm talking. So yeah, it's please go and check that out. Word Burglar is awesome, and he's a true fan. He's somebody that's really into this stuff. So at least you know his music and all that is legit. It's not something he's doing because he thinks it's cool. It's something he's doing because that's who he is. So it's awesome. Hold Down the Heavens with Baroness disguised as a scientist that hates Joes. Absolutely. Yes, Bob Squad. This is, you may have seen me sort of visibly wince or cringe when Stephen mentioned Hold Down the Heavens. I might have even smiled ironically. This is an episode. I'm excited to watch it again now. Maybe my opinion on it has changed. Maybe my newfound old age has brought down something new to it, or will make me enjoy it a bit more. I don't know, but it's up there with the vegetable episode as being something that's unfun for me. But this time, it's unfun for me for different reasons. But we're gonna find out why in the next episode. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us and just for being absolute troopers. It's been really awesome. We missed you guys. Don't tell Steve this, but last weekend I honestly thought we had an episode and I almost came on. So, even though I was a little bit sniffly and stuff. So whoopsie, but that was just because I was really excited to chat to you guys. And then also a big shout out to everybody that's just been like checking out the YouTube shorts, and who, for all of you guys that come in and join the comments and all that good stuff. It's been really amazing. I'm very excited. It's Elliot.
It's Elliot. He's got his dummy in.
Hey, buddy.
Paul, have you seen 1980 Force from?
Yes, it's so good. I was just telling the guys, like, you have to check it out. Like,
so good.
What is it? Kneel down or something like that.
So good. He
so
has
many cool characters.
Deep cuts. He's taken a whole bunch of Joes, customized them with terrific new code names, and sort of intercuts them in his video. But yeah, do yourself a favor. Don't even just listen to the audio. Go on YouTube, check out the video.
Yeah,
Wordbergy he's the greatest.
He's too cool. He's too cool. And guys, also thank you for those of you that have been picking up some of our GI Joburg merch. You can actually get that on our Teespring store. So the link is in the description below, as it is with every single video. Somebody just recently bought a piece of merch. I don't want to call out their name now, make them feel awkward. But thank you so much for the support. And the shirt looks amazing. He got an Iron Grenadiers in grey. And also, I know it's getting cold in the States, so there are hoodies as well. So guys, thank you very much for those of you who've been supporting the merch. And also just a huge shout out and thank you to our loyal and awesome Bergforce members who have been supporting the Patreon. Thank you very much, guys. You have definitely kept you help the show, work, and you help us, pay for things like, Streamyard and subscriptions for software that I sometimes have to use for things to upload stuff, and some toys, or at least you help with the shipment of those toys to get them here so that we can review or talk about them or have some real experiences like the HEYO Toy Snake guys. So guys, thank you very, very much for your contributions. They really do help a lot, and we really appreciate it. And you can jump into the Patreon for as little as $3 a month, as anything you want, but the general rate is about $3. So yeah, thank you very, very much. And yeah, with that, Steve, if you're still in the AO, let's wrap up the show and say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Paul, did you
Goodbye,
show the
everybody.
second page of the patrons?
I did. I showed them both.
Ah, okay. I didn't see this
Yes.
one. Just in case you wanted to see your name up in lights, as it were. There it
Yes.
is. Ching!
There it is.
And there's
Ching!
Paul's face on He-Man.
He-Man. He-Man.
Funny. All right.
Yeah,
well,
nice
I
one,
can't
Andrew, and
add
all your new
anything to
He-Man
that,
stuff.
so I'm just going to say cheers and thanks for joining us, folks, in the live chat. Always fun to get them some back and forth going there. Yo, Joe.
It's goodbye time.
So long, Lowlight. You like
Cheers,
that
you
figure,
guys.
Paul? Your classified Lowlight?
I have things to say.
Oh dear. Next time.
Then. I like him, but I'll save it for another thing, another one, or another thing.
You like him? Don't leave him hanging like that, Paul. You like him, but
I like him, but I still think the modern era is a better toy.
Even with the poofy secondary jacket.
The poofy, yeah, still think the modern era is like better. Because the modern era doesn't have a seam line that goes through a belt buckle. I don't know why Hasbro can't get it into their heads to make it like bazooka.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why they can't do that. It's really ugly. It hates.
The ab joint is an eyesore. You're right.
It is. Although I think this is a cool gun, but it ain't no Uzi, dudes. I love his original gun more than this. Like,
it's a
he's got
blaster.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's not the vintage era version cool. But anyway, I got a lot to say. I just have to find a nice way of saying it because there are reviews, but I kind of want to do these like these Q&A sessions. Maybe I should try and do them like, I don't know. I tried live reviews, it didn't work. So let me try something else. Let me just have a rant about them. Maybe I should make them short. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we will see you all in the next episode and or before that. So until then, stay awesome, be cool to each other, stay excellent, and yo Joburg.